Ahead of the 2027 general election, a non-governmental organization, Global Rights, has called on the federal government to start the prosecution of perpetrators of electoral violence in the 2023 general election to serve as deterrent to others. Edosa Oviawe, program manager of Global Rights, representing the executive director Abiodun, Baiyewu, made this known at a one-day national dialogue in Abuja on accountability for documented atrocities associated with the 2023 general elections reports. Oviawe said without bringing perpetrators to book, there cannot be free, fair and credible elections in the country.
The talk is beginning to go on about 2027, but there are still issues about 2023 elections that have not been resolved. And that's because issues of atrocities that we witnessed at the last elections are still left hanging. Perpetrators of those atrocities are still walking freely on the streets without any questioning or being brought to account for the atrocities. And that is the basis for the report that Global Rights is presenting today, to give a pointer to the level of carnage and atrocities that was particularly fueled by the weaponization of hate speech and of those atrocities, of those evidences that were gathered. And today we are presenting it to everyone to see what was documented, what Global Rights and his partner was able to document during the elections in terms of election atrocities, and to demand accountability, and to call on the states, the government now, to say these perpetrators cannot be left to keep walking freely while we start talking about 2027 elections.
Also speaking, team lead of Incident Center for Election Atrocities, ICEA, Ken Henshaw, revealed that the center recorded a lot of violence and voters' oppression, hate speech and fake news, which were the major elements that marked the 2023 general elections, especially by non-state actors.
2023 elections. The next one was on violence and voter suppression. And the other one was on hate speech and fake news. So those are the three categories that we looked at. So specific to violence seriously marked the election. We saw violence deployed this time around, unlike in previous election like 2019, where we saw a lot of violence unleashed on the process by state actors like the army and the police. In 2023, we saw a lot of the violence being unleashed by non-state actors. And when we mean non-state actors, we mean thugs, we mean hoodlums, we mean so-called unknown gunmen, and even separatists in the southeast, taking control of the electoral process and unleashing violence on that process. And this affected very seriously how people behaved during the election.
Meanwhile, Jaye Gaskia, a public affairs and political analyst, stated that getting election published should be made mandatory, and by bringing perpetrators of election to justice through naming individuals caught in the act, no matter the position held in the public domain, then Nigeria can have peaceful elections and credible winners.
People are nominated into these commissions. Okay? They submit reports that government produce white papers on that are not released. And then we say that the reports are not in the public space. And I'm asking myself, how come the report is not in the public space? Human beings served on those things. These reports were not ghost reports. So perhaps we should also start doing, investing in actually, even if it means hacking, getting these reports and pushing them out into the public space so that we can name and shame people.
Our correspondent reports that the reports presented seek to address electoral irregularities by allowing electoral bodies to be independent.